Hi everyone, welcome back to Hazel Garden. Another nice cold windy day here in Melbourne. We're going to be working on the veggie patches that I've got in my backyard today. They've gotten very neglected over the spring and the summer and the autumn, and as you can see they've gotten very weedy. And also I have a lot of raspberries at the back, which have also suckered throughout the veggie bed, so we need to sort that out and also clean them up so we can give the raspberries their winter prune. So we're going to get stuck into that, and you might find some interesting things in there as we get going. As you go through and you clean out an overgrown area, you find some interesting things. One of the things that we've found is this case moth cocoon. Case moths are pretty innocuous. They don't tend to cause any real harm to the garden or anything like that. And the interesting thing about them is they actually form their cocoons by adding like little bits of twig and debris and stuff to it. And I can actually see there's a little bit, I think it must be a little bit of a dry dead raspberry or even rose cane on there, because it's got a little thorn sticking out of it. The thing that's really fascinating about case moths is that the males have wings and they leave the cocoon like most moths do, but the females actually don't have wings and they never leave the cocoon. So we are going to need to remove him because we're trying to clean up the area, and he's actually, the cocoon stuck to one of these raspberry suckers that we need to pull out. So I'm actually just going to cut that off, right, and I'll move him over to a tree in another space in the garden so he or she can continue to change from a caterpillar into a moth. There are, with raspberries actually sucker quite badly. So they basically, their roots go out and they actually put shoots up, and they spread. They're actually a bit of a spreading plant. In the wild, that's why you see them in like big sort of thickets, because they just sort of spread out and put suckering shoots up all over the place. We want to actually try and keep the raspberry canes to the back of the garden bed, because we're actually going to make a frame, and then we're going to tie those canes to keep them up and neat and make it easier to harvest them when the raspberries are ready. So as we're going through, we're basically, you can see here we've got these suckers that are popping up all through, and we're just going to basically rip all of those out. Later in the season, as we go through and start to dig in the bed and plant other vegetables and things, we'll probably find the roots of the raspberries through it as well. It's just a continual process. If everything was absolute, if I had the absolute perfect option, I would probably have like just one individual bed just for raspberries, but it's fairly easy to pull them out and basically just stay on top of them and maintain any of the suckers that are coming out. Just pulled this sucker out of the garden bed, and it's a really good way to sort of show how the raspberries will spread and sucker. So you can see that the root along here, and it's a very thin root. This is not like a thick, super vigorous root. And even on this one, you can see all the individual little new baby canes that are coming up. And you can even see these tiny white little canes starting to form. So you can see how raspberry canes, and this is quite a small one as well, how they can spread really, really easily in a garden. So there's two types of raspberries that you get. There's summer fruiting and there's autumn fruiting. I've actually got both varieties in my garden, and normally it's hard to tell the difference between the two, but I happen to actually get a thornless variety of the summer fruiting and a thorny version of the autumn fruiting. That way I can definitely know which is which. So the main difference between the two is when they fruit. The summer fruiting ones have their main fruiting season in summer, and they can also have a repeat fruiting later on in autumn. The autumn fruiting varieties only fruit in late summer, autumn. The pruning regime on both of them is slightly different. The autumn fruiting variety is pretty simple. You pretty much, once they've gone dormant in winter, you prune the whole lot to basically the ground. Prune them right down, remove all the canes, and then they'll have all fresh new growth and they'll fruit on the new growth next season. The summer fruiting variety is a little bit different. They actually fruit on the previous season's growth. So all the new growth from this season, that's just finished, they will fruit on that next summer. So what we need to do is go through and prune out any of the older canes and keep the ones from this year. The older canes, it's not too difficult to tell them apart. The older canes are a lot deeper brown, reddish brown colour, whereas the new canes are more of a greeny tan colour. And when you look closely at them as well, it's fairly obvious. The older canes look a lot drier. They look a lot more barky, I guess. The bark looks a lot older, whereas the new ones look a lot fresher, a lot plumper. So we're going to go through and prune the raspberries, and with the summer fruit, with the clumps, we're going to try and keep maybe 6 or 7 canes per clump, just so the whole thing doesn't get completely out of control, because next year we're going to have all new growth as well. So we just want to make sure that we keep everything controllable and manageable. We've got a sage plant in the garden that we've kept. It's fairly old sage plant. It's been there for about 3 years now, and so it just keeps growing back happily. It'll probably get a bit frosted during the winter, but it always comes back. So we always keep that in there. It's very happy in that spot. We do also have one more berry in this garden, which is this tayberry. Now, a tayberry is a cross between a blackberry and a raspberry. It grows like a raspberry, so as you can see, it has it grows as a big long vine like a blackberry, but it has larger and sweeter berries on it than your normal blackberry. They're a lot redder, and they have a sweeter flavour, closer to, well, I wouldn't say closer to, but a definite balancing between a raspberry and a blackberry. So all I've really done is just pruned off any dead bits, and it started to invade into other parts of the garden. So I've just sort of pulled it back under control. What we will do next time, we're finished for today, but what we're going to do next time is we're going to build a big framework across the back, where we can tie both the raspberry canes as they grow up, and also tie the tayberry to keep that under control. So thanks for joining us today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, subscribe it, tell your friends. We'd love to grow our channel. So thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next one.